Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the virtual Cobalt Cafe. It is week number, don't tell me, I'll tell you, it is week number 248 of our virtual series. Glad to have you here with us for tonight's open reading, as well as to hear our featured reader, Ali Ang. Ali, really happy that you're here. It's going to be a fantastic evening of poetry. We're going to do a little bit of our open reading first, and then we will hear from Ali, and then we will have the rest of the open reading. We randomized the list, everyone who was signed up before we got going. So just so you know, Debbie Siegel, you will be up first, and we'll let everyone else know who's coming along once we get that going. If you would like to read and you haven't already done so, please send me a message in the chat and I will be happy to add you to the list. You get to read up to 2 poems, maximum of 2 poems, and as always, our suggested time limit is less is more, which I say with love. Less is more with love. There you go. What else can I tell you? Oh yes, we have a 1-drink minimum here at the Cobalt Cafe. Make sure that you observe that to help somehow support the venue, which has kept this going for so long. And finally, make sure that you have the chat room open so that way you can interact with each other throughout the festivities, since everyone is muted. Otherwise, I believe that is everything I have to tell you. Before we get going with our first reader, I would like to ask if there are any questions. Richard Loringer, yes.
I know I've been questioning lately, but I do have another important one. I noticed it said that the Cobalt reading started in 1994, Rick, and I was wondering what date exactly?
I'm pretty sure it was a Tuesday, and that's probably the best I can do.
Of what month?
I don't think it's. I think I started hosting it in 1994. I took it over from someone else who'd hosted it prior to me, and who started it a couple years earlier in the Cobalt's original location, not too far from where I ended up hosting it for a couple of decades. And I'm pretty sure it was maybe February-ish that I took it over in 1994.
I might ask a Tuesday in February 1994. I might ask in private the name of that first host and then do a little more research, because for some reason it's a piece of information I want to know, and that means, I'm going to clamp on like a bulldog until I find it out.
I can tell you his name was Steve. I don't remember his last name though. Though he was a nice guy. He was really funny. Only so into poetry. There was another Steve who not too many years earlier hosted an open mic, and then as a result got discovered by MTV and became a VJ. One of MTV's first. And so Steve thought, well, I guess this is what Steves do, and he never got on MTV, and so
if anyone here knows by chance who the real Steve was. Anyway, that's all. I'm done. Thank you for your patience.
You're welcome. All right, moving on. Looks like Martin Parker has a question. Hi, Martin.
Hello, Rick. I was just wondering if you've ever seen a pileated woodpecker in the wild.
What kind of woodpecker?
A pileated woodpecker.
I'm sure I've seen woodpeckers, but they haven't identified themselves.
Okay.
So I'm not sure I can, legitimately say that. Yeah.
Well, they're the ones with the bright red pointed head, like Woody Woodpecker.
Does seeing Woody Woodpecker count?
Well, I said in the wild, so it depends on whether you're watching Woody Woodpecker in the wild, I think, is what that means.
Yeah, I don't think I've done that. So I guess I have to say no.
Well, I looked at the map, and they're not actually native to LA area, which I thought was surprising. So.
I have been outside of the LA area.
I realized that too. That's why I just realized it was probably not that bad a question. But
Well, there you go. All right. Well, let's see how this pans out as time moves on. Thank you, Martin. Cathabella, yes.
Rick, do you have a magical cat moment that stands out for you?
Uh, only every interaction I ever have with my kitties.
I thought so.
Yeah, it's all magic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there must
that's.
be something.
I have one of my cats kind of hangs out with me, like at night, just kind of sits on my lap and stuff. I'm kind of a big fan of that. Yeah, it's a good one. All right, Cathabella. Good
Thank you.
question. Thank you so much. Christopher, did you say earlier you had a question that you wanted to ask?
Yeah, after seeing some of your Facebook posts, I was wondering where you studied comedy.
I studied it on my television and have been studying it for many years. So there you go. That's pretty much. I go to the School of Saturday Night Live and Monty Python, and perhaps Douglas Adams as well. This is where my degree in comedy comes from.
One of my favorite places. Thank you.
Sure. All right, Christopher. Thank you so much. Good amount of questions. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to hit that again, Christopher. We're going to move on with our open reading. 5 open readers first, and then our featured reader, Ali Ang. On deck is Henry Henry. Please welcome now Debbie Siegel. Hi, Debbie.
Hello, poets. Hello, Rick. Thank you. What used to be. What used to be is remembered, and any circle can function as a clock. Hormones, hardware, and a stand-up bass with a brass bassoon. Poems by Yeats. Magnetic voices, pendulum swings in the clouds. Instructions in dreams. The blue came back. We chose to yell and keep a light on for all who suffer. Formed and fired with white flowers. Beyond this ridge, no going back to before 1984. Thank you.
Debbie, thank you. Great opening to our reading. Nice reading of your reading as well. Appreciate you being here and opening up the festivities for us. Round of applause for Debbie Siegel. On deck is Jennifer Elise Wang. Please welcome now Henry Henry. Hello, Henry Henry.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. And I have news. I'm gonna be reading 2 poems. I just won the 2025 Rattle Chapbook Prize, so I'm gonna read 2 poems from that book. The book is about basically how my mom died and stuff like that. So one of the ideas I had, I've been thinking about, like, what if before we come on Earth, we choose who our mother is in heaven? So the first poem is titled "Even Without a Body." I curl around you, a tadpole of caresses. You're not only light, but a column of love, the warmth that's our alphabets. We're in yesterday without dawn or evening. A wave of clocks lifts us and brings us to now. I touch the future of your face and say, I choose you as my mother. You expand a balloon without tears, a lake of yes, a gate of radiance. I'm a small glow, and when I enter you, for an instant they can't tell us apart. The next poem is kind of thinking about when someone gets sick, you kind of retreat. You need a little break from the world. So the title is Broken Seashells. Since you got sick, I've been turning over the word retreat. It makes me think of a sergeant yelling, retreat, and a bombshelled regiment running for their lives. Or of a retreat for a fabulous gay boy getting a pedicure and facial at a 5-star hotel. I love it when words have double meanings? When 7 letters can scream, "Soldier, run for cover!" or "Girl, I'm gonna knock 'em dead with this makeover." Of course, retreat has a third meaning, the act of withdrawing, as into privacy or seclusion, not because a knife nicks your jugular or because beauty beckons, but simply because you want to be alone. Enter the snail, carrying its exit on its back, with a guarantee of hiding only centimeters away. I disappear into my own shell when white boys shout "spick" and "weird." Flush me in English-only restrooms when you tremble and drool and doctors don't have the cure. When the world's a chainsaw and I'm sub-hearted wood. When seas divide and I can't straddle both sides. I brought you to the retreat of this page to ask you, what if we were born already wounded? Tell me, have you ever felt like a mollusk with a broken shell? Though no matter what you do, you can't close the gap that's unmaking you. I have. And the worst is that it makes you feel loco, like shouting, "Look, I carry the rubble of waste with me everywhere I crawl. Why even bother plodding forward?" I don't like being a drag, so I focus on the silver lining, which is that you too are fucked, carrying your broken home, questioning your cuckoo, even as I hunker down in my protective shell. I like knowing that I'm not alone, that you're out there on the dark shore, safe and dreaming, and that the curved edge of your fortress is only the world's softest pillow.
Henry, well done. Thanks so much for being here. Glad to meet you in this space, and congratulations a lot on winning the Rattle Chapbook contest. That's Rattle. A lot of people enter Rattle contests and projects, so it's quite there's quite a lot of competition to get selected there, and it's not easy. So it's quite a feather in your cap to have done that, and excited that you chose to come here and read after that accolade. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for the invite.
Sure. A round of applause for Henry. Thank you so much, Henry. On deck is the collab, Cathabella, Jackie, and Siggy. Please welcome now Jennifer Elise Wang. Hello, Jennifer.
Hey, I've got two that I'm gonna read over my cat or from behind my cat because it decided to pop up. The first one I've read here before, but it recently found a home in a new journal that's about dragon mental health. And unfortunately, this piece is still relevant thanks to more anti-drag laws. So this is Drag versus the Law. When I was reading to children in another city with my spiked up hair and drawn on beard, a group of fascists invaded my neighborhood. They didn't make it in, but now the same lawmakers who invaded our bodies are trying to halt our joy and pride because they don't like rhinestones and wigs on men and trans women and cis women and non-binary folk. Anyone can be a drag queen after all. Those politicians probably don't like fake facial hair on femmes either. They would rather have kids stare down the barrel of an AR-15 than into thickly lined eyes framed by false lashes. They would rather have kids put a hand on a Glock than hand $1 to a glittery glove that was voguing and tutting. They would rather have kids in a shroud than with feather boas around their necks. For 2 weeks, the nation cried over innocent lives taken in a senseless act of violence. But do the citizens realize the number of youth who have already died senselessly because they think the world will never love them? Because your parents can say they love you, but they'll keep you from cutting your hair even when you're over 30 and create a personal don't ask, don't tell policy for your partner of 5 years and counting. Because your roommates will celebrate your coming out, but only with the caveat that you never make a move on them. Because you can ignore the names bullies call you, But you can't ignore the name your family and friends insist is yours, but feel as much as a prison as your body. Because the doctors would rather have you live body horror than acknowledge that at 8 years old, you know who you are. The drag of cis heteronormativity is the most exhausting, joyless performance a person can give. So if we are committing a crime, when I share my love of skateboarding at story time, while my sibling struts in a pink bustle and mustache, and my brother shakes his hips like Elvis, while one sister does a jump split to Britney, and the other pretends to sing like Whitney, yet children who are part of this giant rainbow alphabet soup can finally have a place to feel free and loved, then yes, we plead guilty. And I will link to the journal. It is called Tulip Wolf Journal that the piece is in. My second piece is completely different. Since it's Earth Day, I thought I would find a nature poem. This is a tanka sequence called Sakura. 1. Out of the cold mist that covered empty patties, she came to my town, the hot topic of chatter among the noisy grannies. Skin untouched by sun, hair so light it was nearly white, large radiant eyes. Despite her delicate build, she was so high and so free. She came from nowhere, but now appeared everywhere, blowing past people as if carried by the wind. We tried and failed to keep up. And 2. Whenever I could, I would watch her from the fields, capturing, framing her likeness in my mind's eye, for words would never suffice. She would always wait by the door when I came home, a brush of soft lips, her cheeks tinted a pink shade. I dreamt of this as a boy. As the nights grew warm and the frogs began to sing, I traced her small form while she wrapped me in her arms, and I could only see white. My friends and their wives would join us for a picnic. She wove through bodies in a whirlwind of a dance, leaving locks of hair behind. 3. She did not belong to me or to this village, yet I held her close, but not tightly or she'd run. The storm had yet to come. 2 weeks had passed, and as quickly as she came, she was gone for good. There was no sign she was here except thin strands of pale hair. 4. I've become too busy with the approaching harvest to dwell on the past. Soon frost will cover the fields, as well as my barren heart. At times I will catch a ghost of her soft touch or her fragrant scent, for her image is fading. Winter never felt so cold. But I will endure till the warm breeze and a cloud of black butterflies come take me from this place. Like before, she waits for me.
Nice as always, Jennifer. I'm also of the mind that poetry should always be read with a cat in front of you. So well done on that front as well. Nice to see you both. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And also thank you for putting Allie on my radar when you read a poem by them a while back.
I was super excited to see them featured. So yeah, thank you.
There you go. All right, round of applause for Jennifer Elise Wang. A couple more, and then our featured reader, Allie Eng. On deck is Martin Parker. Please welcome the collab, Cathabella Wilson, Siggy in Colorado, and Jackie. Hello to all of you.
Hi, Rick. Let's have the sharing. I'll try again. Somehow not yet. Okay, here we go. So continuing on from Jennifer, I think, amazingly, our inspiration for this one was a poem published in 1978 in the journal Haiku. Randy Brooks was the editor, publisher of that, and I came upon it by chance because I ordered a book, and he sent me this as a reward from his publishing company. So this was from his little journal, The White Cat Licking Moonlight from its back. The white cat licking moonlight from its back, by Bill Pauley, Dubuque, Iowa, in 1978. So I started with an idle prism dangles for months in bedroom light. Once upon a morning, rainbows all over the house.
Tuxedo cat jumps window to floor, chasing crystal rainbows, wind ruffles, the leaves, makes colors dance.
Beautiful, Siggy. A red flash in the copper wire tree, a shock of my own hair caught by sunset.
Each day, at setting of sun, they gather. At a precise moment, stained glass window glows.
Uh-oh. Here we go. A gap. Let's see what this is doing. Everybody's trying to interfere here.
It's okay.
Amelia, come on. What are you doing here? There has to be more. Uh-oh, another one.
What's happening?
I don't know what's happening. We'll have to go back to the beginning. Not so bad, anyway. Okay, here we go. Jackie.
A gap in the circle of dancers. I am missing somewhere.
So beautiful. Long line at the bank. A little girl gets out of line, lies on the floor, and spins and spins. Was that you, Jackie?
Maybe.
I really saw that. Okay.
Yeah.
Labyrinth walked, seaside behind a church, a botanical garden, small to follow with your hand, garden of senses reflexology.
This is for you, he said, pressing it into my palm. Oh, yes. First time we met. A finger from Finger Lakes.
Circles of coffee stains overlapping. Have I ruined her redwood table?
Driftwood scraps 20 years later on our balcony, and an open-mouthed rock about to speak. Uh-oh, here they come again.
There it goes again.
Everyone's trying to interfere with us. Where is it? Okay. Her eyes.
Her eyes, brightening as I filled her dish. The day before, they took away my cat.
So beautiful. And Siggy, you can read this one. This is by our poet friend Dean, and he was the one that really started us off. So I wanted to include his small miracle.
At Trader Joe's, a routine trip to get stuff. Buy the bread. A father carries a child, swimming in the air. Whee! That was by Dean.
Wonderful, Siggy. Here's Jackie.
Coiled smoke from his cigarette fogs the air. The suave moves of my snake lover.
Curled on the floor, snake-like, a carved cat, another of his sculptures I can't bear to give away.
A view of the sky, house with 6 sides, windows everywhere. Next owner with new ideas, builds a garage to block the morning sun.
There's always one of those, right?
Yep.
Thank you. Here's Rick with his shakuhachi.
It's just a shakuhachi. I don't know anything about it. I got it on eBay.
a wonder.
It's
Beautiful.
vintage, we could say.
Thank you, Rick. All right.
Always
you.
with always with the Sakahachis, that guy doesn't go anywhere. You know, you'll find him at the grocery store, just like, you know, like Sagahachi-ing it up in near the avocados.
Right.
Thank you all very much. As
Thank you,
always,
Rick.
always great to see what you guys come up with. Thank you for being here, Kathabella, Jackie, Siggy, and
It was
Rick.
fun.
All right. Round of applause to the collab. Thank you all so much. On deck, our featured reader, Ali Ang. Please welcome now Martin Parker. Hello, Martin.
Hello again, Rick. Got a couple of poems tonight that I think touch on the Earth Day theme a little bit. This first one is written about a week ago. And it's from a prompt of what makes you fly after reading a poem about bird watching. So this is called Flight. Her eyes drift up to the canopy, away from the crutches under her arms. The sound of a telltale hammering tells her a woodpecker searches for food. Red flash confirms her suspicion. A pileated head so bright in the sun, my heart soars with hers in elation on this all too uncommon walk through the wood. And yes, I noticed that we had a red flash in the last set of poems too. It's a pure coincidence, I promise. Then this is one I wrote sitting in my car outdoors listening to a brook. Over 40 years ago now. So this is more than 40 years ago I wrote this. This is called Quiet Silence. Quiet, burble, laughing stream, leaving ripples in the night, makes me feel I'm in a dream. Here beneath the stars' soft light, silent treetops tower there, shadows of their daytime self. Solid lines with feathers fair, patterns made from nature's wealth. Quiet music fills the air, silent misty shadows blend, letting go all earthly care. I feel I've found the world's end. Thank you very much, everyone.
Well, please keep that secret, Martin. We don't want anyone bringing the world's end about because it's been located. But very much appreciate that. Thank you so much for both your pieces tonight.
Thank you.
Round of applause for Martin Parker. Thank you for being here, Martin. On deck after our featured reader will be Carrie Cox. So prepare yourself, Carrie. I've received a communication communicating to me that I've been mispronouncing our featured reader's last name, so I apologize. Ali, let me know if I'm getting it right. Ang. Does that sound better?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. One of the miracles of virtual communication is that we don't necessarily get to know how words are pronounced that we aren't necessarily familiar with their names. So apologize for that. And thank you for the person who let me know how to do that right. I'm excited to have Ali here. As I mentioned earlier, Ali first got on my radar, I think, when Jennifer Elise Wang read one of Ali's poems a while back here in the open reading. And I also saw, of course, I get the daily email from Academy of American Poets, and late last year, one of Ali's poems came along, and I may have already had them on my list to invite. So either way, it was a fantastic assemblage of events which allowed tonight to happen. So I'm excited that you're here. Ali says in their bio, Ali Ang is a Gaijin poet. Gaijin, by the way, is my new favorite word since I read that and putting the broadside together later in this week. I only have so many opportunities to use it, so thank you for that opportunity tonight. Poet and editor based in Seattle. They are an NEA Fellow and a MacDowell Fellow, and their debut poetry collection, Let the Moon Wobble, is coming out later this year in November from Alice James Books. They co-host with Cody Stetzel Other People's Poems, a monthly poetry open mic and reading series based in Seattle. Allie, I'm awfully excited that you are here and looking forward to hearing your poems. And I have to wait no longer. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome our featured reader, Allie Ang.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rick, for inviting me. And thank you, Jennifer, for reading one of my poems at this event. That's really, really cool. So I will read a couple of poems from my book that's coming out in November, also some new ones. So yeah, thanks for having me here. Invocation. Let the moon wobble. Let the basil plant flower. Let the poets discombobulate. Let the verbs noun. Let the nouns verb. Let the grief howl. Let the emails unread. Let the land speak. Let the oceans revenge. Let the people free. Let the people free. Okay, this next one, I just finished like a couple days ago and I wasn't going to read it, but Henry's first poem really made me think of it. So I decided to read it to be in conversation, I guess. God is sick of hearing about my petty desires. If you want to change your life, then change it, God says. What do you expect me to do? I light incense at the altar, but my ancestors probably wouldn't recognize me, even if we were close enough for our identically gigantic noses to touch. Sometimes I want to throw a brick through the window of my life just to watch it explode. Shards of sharp, glittering nothing falling violently like dying stars. I can feel my heart harden with each new crack in the veneer of salvation. No, I don't believe. Yes, I still wish to be saved. None of the places I want to call home claim me back, and I don't know who to blame. Parents, empire, the sins of my colonial blood. It feels good to cast stones, though the goodness is fleeting. When I tell my mother I didn't ask to be born, she insists that I did, that I chose her, chose this life, chose this body to house it. Every morning, my prayers appear on my doorstep in an envelope marked Return to Sender. My God, you can see right through me, can't you? Okay. This next poem is also new. It's a little weird, and I wasn't sure if I should read it here, but you guys read some weird poems too, so I figured you could hang. It's called From Holes We Emerged and Into Holes We Shall Return. I put my fingers inside the moon like a mouth to see how wide I can spread it open. Sex is just a series of tubes, a friend told me once. Is a tube an inside-out hole or two holes holding hands? My love and I perched on opposite ends of the couch, toes interlaced. Have you ever craved someone so desperately you wished God would rend a new hole in you just to fit their perfect hands into a place no one else has touched? 3 decades ago, the doctor sliced a hole into my mother and yanked me out, silent and still, while she floated somewhere above the pain, a curtain bisecting her body. The first of many violences I didn't mean to inflict, but did anyway. I've never asked to see the scar. I used to pay strangers to puncture holes in me and fill them with metal. Eyebrow, nipples, septum, obsessed with adornment, the breakage of skin. I thought that if I asked for pain, nothing could hurt me. Eventually, the rings fell out and the body refleshed, impenetrable once again. Some holes are ephemeral, others I will take to the grave. Sinkhole, peephole, manhole, K-hole, asshole, blowhole, glory hole, God-shaped hole in my heart. I'm no longer looking to fill or be filled. Let me stay holy as the world moves through me. It's not the hole that empties me. It's the rupture I crave. Okay, this next poem is a love poem, which all poems kind of are. But I wrote it kind of as a challenge because so many of my poems have so much like I, me, my in it. And I'm like, wow, I'm so self-absorbed. So this was a poem where I didn't use the first person at all, or first person singular. It's called We, Us, Ours. No I in sight, lost in the heat of we. Love littering the room like laundry. Air thick with the sound of skin slick on skin. Nightly, we invent new languages of devotion. We make windows of our mouths and peer inside to discover what soft secrets are buried in the dark. We leave no inch of flesh unloved. Kiss each other's kneecaps. Slide clandestine fingers into unsuspecting belly buttons. Sink teeth into thighs with the hunger that we'd happily let obliterate us. It's true, the particles that comprise we can never fully meet no matter how desperate our grasping. Electrons withheld and repelled by forces our eyes cannot discern, but desire defies the demands of physics. We touch like our bodies are as brief as heaven, as though we never feared ourselves drowning in the dizzying ocean of other, limbs tangled like seaweed, until we can no longer tell which parts of us belong to whom. Okay, I have 2 more poems. This one's also pretty new. It's called Take My Word for It. I'm difficult to love. Even God only wants me some of the time. Never when I'm hormonal or hangry, and only sometimes when I'm horny. I guess divine love has its limits like any other. I'm counting my mustache hairs in the mirror again, lips nearly colliding with their reflection. Narcissus with an ethnic nose and a lopsided smile. There's a couple dozen follicles sprouting from my upper lip, too wispy to leave much of an impression, like a lipstick kiss on the rim of a wet glass. My ass hairs, on the other hand, or should I say the other cheek, are a sight to behold. I marvel breathlessly at the soft new coat of fuzz covering the curve of my rump. My lover strokes it with reverence, as though it were made of the richest velvet. Leave it to gay people to make me fetishize the parts of myself I once would have found repulsive. I'm difficult to love, but easy to forgive. At least, that's what God has always told me. My friends, though, seem to have no trouble with either, even on my hangriest days, on the days when I am most ugly and cavernous with grief-stained need. They love me as freely as a bougainvillea bush engulfs a garden. Have you noticed that poets are obsessed with bougainvilleas? I don't even know how to say or spell the word. I've smelled them, though, the vivid fuchsia blooms. Allegedly, they're unscented, a fragrance made only of clean air and dirt. But take my word for it. I swear, they smelled so redolent and sweet, it dizzied me senseless. Okay, I have one more poem, and this one, it's called Fruit Etudes, and it's after a poem by Marilyn Chin of the same name and same conceit. I just thought it was cute. Fruit Etudes. Blackberry. Invasive species according to whom? Inconsiderate, perhaps, choking out your neighbors by slurping up all the light. Still, when I spot you glistening and fat on the vine, I want to weep sticky tears of joy while I toss you into my mouth. Tomato. Like you, I've been mistaken for a vegetable. When you're as dependable, hearty, and thick as we are, people forget you're still just a tender little fruit. Rambutan. Hairy alien testicle on the outside, slimy alien egg on the inside. You delicious freak of nature, I'd scour every bustling market in every last Chinatown on earth just to find you. Durian. How I long to be more like you, audacious in your stink, your funk, despite the disgust that bubbles up in every room you enter. Anyone who has never braved your jagged armor, your brazen stench, to devour the creamy meat beneath, doesn't know what they're missing. Mango. The world doesn't need more mango diaspora poetry, proclaims a viral tweet. I hit the block button. Dear Mango, my sweetest childhood friend, my most sinless indulgence, you deserve every poem you get, including this one. Thank you all.
Allie, that was so much fun and great to listen to. I'm always like writing down, oh, I gotta mention this line, I gotta mention this line. You're one of those poets. I'd really have to read your entire set back to you to let you know all the lines that I liked. Let the Poets Discombobulate, I started with. If you're ever, just an aside to anyone, if you're ever in the Milwaukee airport, there's a big sign that says Discombobulation Area. Or maybe it says Recombobulation. Anyway, they take combobulation seriously, is the point. So head there for that. None of the places I call home wish to call me back. Wow. I love that you called us out for reading some weird poems. That's perfect. That will now be the anthem of our reading, the home of the weird poem. Please bring them here and read them. And this just occurred to me. You talked about your hangriest days, which means sometimes you get angry, but do you ever get angry? Like, as in your last name. I guess it's not funny. There you go. You got it now. It's always funnier once you explain a joke. I've learned in comedy. Back to the earlier question that Christopher asked about comedy schools. So always explain your jokes. It's a good thing. Anyway, I really enjoyed that quite a lot. So much so that I forgot to pre-cut the stuff to paste into the chat. So I'm cutting it now. Clicking on the everyone button so it doesn't just go to one person. And there you go. There's the stuff in the chat, and I'm going to share the screen. There it is. There's the broadside for Allie's poem Masculinity Ode. This is also the poem that Academy of American Poets published as well. You can download this now. It's an 11 by 17 print. You can grab it at the Cobalt Poets website at the link I put in the chat. This is how we compensate our featured poets. So if you're the kind of person who would buy a poet's book or put money in the hat at an in-person reading, you can do that by sending some hat money to Allie's Venmo, which I pasted into the chat. And you can keep in touch with Allie via Allie's website, which is the third thing that's posted there that I just posted in the chat as well. And stay tuned for when November comes along, when you can purchase the book Let the Moon Wobble from Alice James' book. That is going to be something that is on my list of things that I need to have in my possession. Allie, thank you so much. I'm really glad you were here tonight, and thank you so much for your reading.
Thank you so much for having me. Also, I loved all the poems that you all read. So weird poems, complimentary. Like it made it feel like a safe space for me to read my weird poems too. So thanks.
Yeah, that's how I took that comment. It's like, I don't know if I should take this risk. Oh, look at what these people are doing. Yeah, these are my people. I'm going to do this. That's exactly what I got from that. So cool. Please come back anytime. We're on the same coast. This is easy for you to do if you ever wanted to be here. We're here every Tuesday. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to our featured reader, Allie Ong. All right. Moving on to the rest of tonight's open reading. Here's who I have on the list in this order: Carrie Cox, Christopher Bogart, Richard Loringer, Ken Scott, Julian Matthews, Bill Gaines, Ike Waltz, Chris Kondo, Michael G. Hickey, Walker Valdez, Dig Wayne, Comrade, Eva, Regicide, and me. If anyone else would like to be added, please send me a message in the chat, and I will be happy to add you. As a reminder, it's 2 poems maximum, and less is more is our beloved suggested time limit. That's it. Moving on then, on deck is Christopher Bogart. Please welcome our next reader, Carrie Cox. Hello, Carrie.
Hello, Rick. Hello, Cobalt. How's everyone doing? I always ask that. I know you can't answer, but I still feel like I need to say it. So here we go. I decided I changed up my thing so that I could read a weird poem. I wanted to read this one a few weeks ago and then I couldn't find it. So tonight seems like a good night. It's called Sleep Talking, the dream poem. So dream poems are perfect for getting weird, right? Because it's a dream, anything could happen. So Sleep talking. There's a little yellow donkey I dream of sometimes, smooth like butter, yellow and fluttered full at the sides, swaying down trails. I ride his back and smile. If you ever saw the way my skin shone, the actual glint of heaven perceptible in beads of sweat plump atop my upper lip, if you ever heard that loud, long moan at the end, if you ever up close got to taste the sold out show swimming in my lost limp eyes, you knew how I loved you. The breathless test your hands made wrapped around the air inside. The whole shaking shiver way my clothes dripped from my body into a pile owned by your feet. How the listening clock stopped and started, how the bites and tantrums all blended into tiny moments that look like a whole lifetime if you let them lay still for a while. If you pin them down in pages and remember how the joy stuck to my fingers, cotton candy sweet and fireworks told secrets while you slept. There's a pile of bones I dream of sometimes, warm as an elephant's trunk. There's the way you sometimes said my name so soft I wasn't sure of anything else. Sometimes I dream of nothing else. Licked old, my best defense has bricked itself in, and here I'm floundering. Here I have no basis for believing that when you held tight, it was for good. All this air and space and the infinite beyond a small girl's big eyes, all this handed innocently, all this a brown paper lunch sack up in tender dancing flames, where oxygen sucks itself into a blank blossom of smoke. You become more wisp than real, coiled around my blame-trained heart, wrapped cord tight. I almost wish, I almost pretend. I almost stopped the clock in deference to a time when a thing like time was a thing that needed no name. You grasped all there was of me, held tight and erased every trace of shame. I dream long beaches barefoot. I write my favorite word and let it taps its song in my salty, sunburned veins, still stretching my arms wide to give you shelter, to shower you with shade. Sometimes I dream of unmaking all the mistakes I made. We kissed on lips, we invented games no one's ever played. Sometimes I dream of baby owls we named and watched fly far, far, far away. Sometimes I dream of telling you the things I never say. Instead, I mouth the words and sleep these dreams away. And then I have one other poem I wrote from a prompt about hanging out with your favorite poet. So it's called Me and Zoya. I'd never heard of a bell jar and have to admit I'm still unsure of their practicality, but I did make a moss garden full of crystals inside one after so many years. We were friends back in those days. My kids were little, lived without me. I was slowly drowning on a mattress in the living room of an apartment I shared with a fragmented farce of a full-grown man. I spiraled down a staircase of sterile sidewalks, pills they said might help me not want to come see you again. But there I was in the bathtub, hopped up on antidepressants, cutting open tiny memories that were pounding out codes of coming clean just under the skin. And so I faltered. I begged for a handhold on this mountain, sheer as a simple promise. I clamored and clung with tired fingers and cramping toes, emergency services for something in the mind that mulls over the times. My body was a field of minds, and I was dancing double time down my very own spine. More afraid of sticking around this rough and lonely life than dying. The hospital snide doctor laughed at my razor blade scratches. The social worker who sent me home to drink tea didn't know that we were best friends then. That I knew every word I heard you said by heart. Watched you fall under the stairs, belly full of stars and sacrifice. The mistake they thought you made when they found you again and again, checking for a pulse. That morning, a revelation that I could walk in your shoes straight down that white hallway into a kind of heaven of no more hurting, We could laugh about how men never understood our depth or breadth or soul-scathing soundscape of inner wilderness. I'll braid your hair, make you laugh about things darker than girls are supposed to, dissect old men's poems like almost dead frogs, belly up and waiting for the blade of knowing to cut open the seams of skin again, and maybe this time find out what's really inside. The tiny tunnels that hide our holiest heartbeats, the backsplash of a backspace of another word, another girl, erased. Thank you.
Carrie, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you for your poems. Round of applause for Carrie Cox, everybody. On deck is Richard Loringer. Please welcome now Christopher Bogart. Hi, Christopher.
Hi, Rick. How you doing? That last joke wasn't bad. That was good. I want to do two commercials. One of them is 4 of us in this room are in this book. And this book is called Silence is Consent. Pardon me. It's 385 pages of 83 poets. As I said, 4 of them in the room who contributed to the book. And it's about what Elie Wiesel once said: we must always take sides. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. And Martin Luther King, there comes a time when silence is betrayal. This is a book that speaks to a poet's need to speak out to what has happened since January 20th. I'm going to, if I can, I'd like to share the screen for just a minute to show you this is what the book looks like. That's the cover, and you can buy it on Amazon for $18. And then what we're going to, I also want to show you this. This is Richard Loringer. This is his website, Resources for Resistance, and the book is shown up here, plus the readings that go on a weekly basis that leave room for poetic expression. And this is a live thing that I'm running this coming Saturday at 1 PM in New Jersey. That's the second thing. And finally, the third thing I want to show you, and then I'll shut up and read, and that's this. We're going to be running a few readings on Zoom. They will not be on Tuesdays, but they will be called Breaking the Silence, and they're basically poems from this book. Plus, we're encouraging other people to use the open mic to read their own efforts in this regard. So, having said all of that, I am going to put the link in the to get the book in the chat, and I'm going to read 2 poems, and I'm going to try to be quick about it. One of them is from a book of poetry called The Eater of Dreams, and I'll tell you why I'm reading this poem. Because a lot of people who are talking about immigrants coming north from Central and South America have little or no idea what the expense, and I'm not talking about financial, I'm talking about emotional and sometimes physical expense these people have to go through to get to this country. There are about 5,000 that make the trip every month. And of the ones that ride the back of the beast, only 40% of them make it to the border. 20% of them, male and female, are raped. And some of them don't make it. This is about a poem about a mother and child that was fleeing the drug lords in Central America and to make their way to the border. It's called Contrapunto. Sunsets, air cools the back of the beast. Rattle scales navigate turns, constant cries. Infant hunger rises. Contrapunto to clicking steel wheels, clanging metal rings, composing cacophonous lullaby. Mother cradles child in crook of left arm, sways above fast freight. Beast vibrates in rhythm, repeat, recurring melody. As darkness descends, exhaustion lulls fears. Mother's arms slacken in sleep. Baby slowly slips from maternal cradle, silently to fall upon the tracks. As darkness yields to dawn, keening cuts the morning air. Inconsolable, mother wails, contrapunto to clacking steel wheels and clanging metal rings. And the other poem that I want to read is from this book called Breakpoint, and it's a book of poetry about the first Trump administration. And this one is going to be more hopeful. This is called A Future of Hope. Abraham Lincoln once said, "My dream of a place and a time where America will once again be seen as the last best hope of Earth." A future of hope. When the lid that sealed Zeus's jar was lifted by Pandora carelessly, all the evil Zeus had hid there flew out to plague humanity. Left only with hope, the one thing trapped within the jar, we learned to fight poverty with generosity, war by making plowshares from rusted swords, ignorance by teaching truth, and hatred by drawing love from deep within our human root. For what we learned then, we must learn again, that hope is not abstraction, but positive action, not vision, but decision, providing paths paved with opportunities. Hope raises walls that hate once raised up high, replacing them with fields of understanding. Hope hangs on common cause, craves commitment to common goals. Hope motivates to force the world to learn to be the force of change within us all. Hope floats only on seas of full equality, where each of us is sibling to all others, our sisters and our brothers in one common human family. Hope harbors within its broad shoals the best of all great human goals, of optimism sewn into the seams of all that's good within all human dreams. Hope holds promise that one day soon we'll reach the heavens to touch each shining star. Or hope holds nothing if we leave it asleep within the jar. Thank you.
Christopher, thank you so much. Thank you for the work that you've done on that book. I don't know, you probably didn't see, but it also happens to be the featured book on Poetry Superhighway in the bookstore section as well, and that'll be included in the Poetry Superhighway newsletter that goes out this weekend as well. So thank you so much. Round of applause for Christopher Bogart. On deck, Ken Scott. Please welcome now Richard Loringer. Hi, Richard.
Hello, peoples. So, there I just put more links in the chat, and the top one is the page that Chris Bogart just showed you with the readings and with the anthology listed. The bottom one, which some of you know about, has almost the same address, but they're not actually linked to each other, is a page with all the new pledges of allegiance, which you're welcome to. And you're welcome to send your own pledge of allegiance to that page. They're pretty delightful. So that's my thing. Wanted to say I'm enjoying the extra special Queer Energies tonight. Not that of course, I always enjoy the extra special Straight Energies as well. But I think that's it. Got two pieces. The first one and Happy Earth Day, and I did choose them for sort of accordingly. But this one has some politics in it too. Earth Punk. You might have heard this before, maybe when I featured. Call me Earth Punk and step away if you don't. I'm not here for the fashion. I'm not here for the hair. I'm not here for the scene or the being seen. I'm here for the passion. I'm here for the song. I'm here for the truth and noise and anger and politics. I'm here for the dirt, for digging in dirt, for the politics of dirt. Digging the loam, the must, the marrow, digging the mirror of the mind, the unkempt world, digging the space between molecules, the space between us, the lines and lack of lines, the borderless, the endless flow and interchange, the pulsing, skinless fallacy of I. I'm here for the digging. I'm here for the roots and air, the striving outward, the grappling. I'm here for the suck of wind, the information of sun, for the finding of the dew. I'm here for the rain, for the sheer cleansing drench of rain, for the pounding, soaking rain that drums away difference, that drains away spite, that deionizes the sky and land, that deionizes us, turns friction into grass, melts conflict into luscious soil, feeds life. I'm here for the taste of it, the taste of earth in my cells, the scent of lightning, the hair-raising audacity of trees, the resoluteness of trees. Got conflict, got oppression, got strife, yes. Lie face down between old roots and take a deep draught, then decide a course of action. The politics of Earth are no different than a human melee. We love each other, and yes, we fuck each other up. Always have and always will, just like moon, ocean, rock, leaf, ice, flame, rain, dust. But unlike our muddled monkey thoughts, the ideology of soil is relatively pure. Live and rot, become, transmit, transform. Sure, you can cage life, sell the air, pretend to own the sun, rip and tear and die, writhing in inexorable need. Or you can be the vine that twines and stays. Eat dirt, sister brothers. Drink sky, my friends. Wrap yourselves in lakes and stone. These are not commands. I'm earth punk. I don't command. I don't even ask. These are what you do every day. These are what you are. Dig. I should dedicate that one to Dig Wayne tonight, because I mentioned it. I have it, despite what I'm about to say, the second piece is actually fairly short, but I'm going to read you page 210 out of 462 from my unpublished novel, which is the scariest thing you can ever say, those two last words on a poetry reading. But I think you don't need to know anything except this little town in Nevada is having a week with a different themed festival every day. They're trying to bring in tourists. And so here's this, and it's kind of earthy. Berries, 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 buried in berries, bursting with berries, bonanza in berries. A very good day turned out to be the first really, or should we say very big hit. Everyone, but everyone wanted a taste of those heavenly local bulbs, or two, or way too many, and Corey was ready to oblige with baskets and bushels of farmed and wild raspberries, blackberries, elderberries, straight from the mountains, gooseberries, service berries, choke cherries, and the elusive and ambrosial thimbleberry. Particularly popular concoctions that day included a serene gooseberry sorbet, with all thorns carefully removed, of course, a serviceberry walnut cobbler, an amazing batch of blackberry cannabis chews for the indulgent set, good old choke cherry jam, several varieties of elderberry pie, and raspberry, well, everything. The culinary folk insisted, and everyone had to agree, that thimbleberries should only be consumed chilled one by one in very small numbers and savored forever in memory. There are those who would say they are the berriest of berries. On top of all that scrumptiousness, the town square rectangle that day was filled with events for kids of all ages, with a berry-themed puppet show for the younger bunch, several pie-eating contests for teens and grown-up kids. What a mess. And to cap the afternoon, Corey's first and quite likely last raspberry blowing contest, ages 6 to 12 only. This latter event both mesmerized and polarized onlookers for a time with extraordinary and to some extraordinarily inappropriate lingual ululations, the winners of which were described by the media variously as indescribable, inconceivable, and shocking. The contest concluded with a riveting performance by a highly unusual musical group who did a raspberry a cappella version of Kashmir by Led Zeppelin. It makes one's tongue hurt to think of it, but you must admit that there was no berry left unturned. Thought I would just bring in some lightenitude there for everyone. So
Very good, Richard. Thank you so much for all of that. I will be holding the phrase raspberry blowing contest close to my heart in the coming week. Thank you so much for that. Round of applause for Richard Loringer. On deck, Julian Matthews. Please welcome now Ken Scott. Hi, Ken.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. These two pieces that I'm going to do are esoteric pieces. I might have done one or both of them here before, but I'm going to do them anyway because they were on my heart. I was thinking about doing something really political, addressing the turmoil that exists right now, but there's something in me that says seek the inner peace and transformation instead. So the first piece I'm going to do is called The Fire of Ascension. There was a fire shut up in my bones, driving me to preach to the empty air against the corruption, the bigotry, the avarice, the evils, the violence, and the insanity of this world. My words riding across the heavens like a holy warrior in battle. Then I bowed my head under the burden of my own preaching, and I wept bitterly, yearning to lay down my armor, set down the shield and sword, and commune with the tears of my own grief, my own solitude. Then I looked at the same fire in my bones and realized what it was trying to tell me all along. The sacred flame was meant for me and me alone. It had nothing to do with verbal holy wars and everything to do with inner transformation. Like the brilliant phoenix rising from its own ashes, reborn. It was never the fire of preaching. It was always the fire of alchemy, the fire of ascension. And I choose to ascend. End piece. The next piece that follows, oddly enough, I wrote it after that one, is called The Divine Arises Heaven Born. The inner fire of transformation is for times of silence. For you are the silence of all sounds in one. The sacred flame cannot help you when you blindly spend it upon ardently preaching to the world. You must channel the fire inward, in silence, in meditation, in the nothingness that is everything, in the infinitesimal infinite, in the real you. Remember the brilliant phoenix, the rebirth, the ascension, the seed of life in the womb of life. You are the eternal flame, the path of light upon the path of light, the singularity of pure consciousness from everlasting to everlasting. Ignite the gross, and the sublime is revealed. Let the old things die in flames, the savage things perish in ashes, and the divine arises heaven born, soars in sublime glory and perfect peace. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Ken, thank you so much. Always good to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. Nice job tonight. Round of applause for Ken Scott. Thank you, Ken. On deck, Bill Gaines. Please welcome now Julian Matthews. Hello, Julian.
Hi. This is called Raising the Dead. He dies again this week. Same time, same place every year, up on a hill flanked by thieves. But if you wait a bit, he comes back after 3 days. Which makes one wonder, what took him so long? Was he in purgatory or limbo or knocking on heaven's door? Or was he doing a little reno on his new digs? Maybe he just needed a break. After 3 years of preaching and hanging out with 12 free organic followers. All those fanboy questions. For a carpenter, putting those parables together was a true test. No cell phone, laptop, not even Google for some research. Only wet fingers on sand, perhaps, and a long memory. He ghosted us from ages 12 to 30, surprising for one with a royal fan club from birth. So we'll never know how his early drafts looked like. No letters were sent and kept by an old pen pal. No teacher mentions his early genius in class. No one found a diary in a drawer or journal under his bed, nor unearthed a broken tablet or two. No scribblings were found on a cave wall, nor rolls of crumbling papyri in jars. By inference, he was one of those quick on his feet orators, never needed a secretary to dictate to. After all, he had a direct dial connection to the one above, a walking, talking chat GPT pro breaking down complex concepts for easy consumption without the hallucinations. His mother must have been a tough tutor too, making him recall and recite scripture from the top of his head. I can't even memorize my own poems, which makes me quite a dud in the human to Messiah scale. Even writing this doesn't warrant a stoning, much less a crucifixion. When I shuffle off this blasphemous mortal coil, though, some cloud storage somewhere may still have the dregs of my early poems. Some future meta-archaeobot may even track all the drafts down, replete with spelling, punctuation, and grammar mistakes. May even compile them all in 3 days and make them available online. Some shy, nerdy, bullied kid from the future may even find joy in reading and memorizing a line or two. And that alone will be enough of a resurrection for me. And I end with a short haiku, Easter haiku. Hope of hope passes. Post-Easter hangover blues. Empty, broken, dick. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Great work tonight. Thanks for the holiday poems. Appreciate that you're here, giving us that perspective on those ancient events. And I'm sure that with enough effort, you'll be able to memorize your own poems someday. And I look forward to your Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the cheesemakers, as they say. Round of applause for Julian Matthews. On deck is Ike Waltz. Please welcome now Bill Gaines. Hi, Bill.
Hello, hi. Welcome to Murder Theater. Murder Theater opens wide at sundown. Buy a ticket for your doom. Settle in, you're the feast, you're the show. The stage is dark, but the seats are on fire. Hyperbole crashes down in a flood of opinion. We let go of each other. We cling tight to receipts. And those we pay to perform quote hacks while stabbing us with infected knives. And when we're done and dead, we reconvene for drinks in the lobby of hell. End of poem. This one, next one, number 2, is called The Brick Wall. Private parking, the brick wall says. So just go live in the dumpster, why don't you, you scumbag? And while you're at it, return the jewelry, because your girlfriend is now my girlfriend, says the brick wall. And she can park here, but you can't. And that is all.
Bill, fun work tonight. Glad you're here. That hat you're wearing feels like you can only wear that once.
On the contrary, I wear it all the time.
Well, you may be sending some mixed messages to people who keep seeing you and then reading that hat and wondering what's going on and if, in fact, they are actually at a rodeo to begin with. So I'm just, but maybe that's your intention. I don't know. Please come back and read more. Your work is a lot of fun, and I want to hear more of it.
Okay.
All right. Round of applause for Bill Gaines. Thanks for being here, Bill. On deck, Chris Kondo. Please welcome now Ike Waltz. Hi, Ike.
Hi. My third damnation of I painted a painting. I painted me. I sculpted a bust that looked like me. I wrote a poem about you, but it turned out to be all about me. The more often, when my journey takes time, I come back to what is essentially mine. Again and again I can see it's all about that nothing that turns into that, what turns out that all about. Yes, that's me. So where do I go from here on my path to sanity? Where do I find that next please, excitement in my painting, in my bust, in my poem, in my song? Or am I getting it all wrong? Should I open my eyes wide to enjoy that otherwise so agonizing whip of a sexy thong? To listen, to brush, chisel, and touch so many unheard words of the ancient past? Meet my runaway angst from that unleashed feast I call that everyday cosmic disaster. A day that turns beauty into orgasmic reality, warming my hunch of my limitless emotional infinity, following my one-way trip as the crow flies. On my way to our future, it's all about hope to die for. So come to my funeral, wear lilies on your head, please. Please, for the last time, I want to go to bed. Just one more time. Join me, naked you, meeting naked I. And blessed between our knees under storm-faced elves, you may borrow my longing dreams, my unfinished humid sorrow. Your tears may flood my earthen bed, drowns, and I will kick your sleeping ass to remind you that I fly first class. Always forgiving you, always meeting something new to me. By the way, my three-dimensional sonic boom will find never, not even on Zoom. It's F-art statements time. Your request, my imagination, will never be disappointed. Yes, it's the BB, Babbity, Bobbity, Killer Zoom. Thank you.
Ike, thank you. Thank you for bringing your three-dimensional sonic boom and sharing it with us tonight. What a treat that was. Thanks for being here. Round of applause for Ike Waltz. On deck, Michael G. Hickey. Please welcome now Chris Kondo. Hello, Chris.
Hello. I haven't written anything this week, so I wasn't able to join my dear collab. And this morning I was going to read a poem that I saw on a friend's Facebook page, but then I went back and I couldn't find it. So I often do collabs with Tom Clausen and his photos, and he had a wonderful poem by somebody else I thought I'd read, but I can't find it. So I just reached out and grabbed something old, which is another collabs. It's Other Vens. And this, in 1999, I started writing, let's see. Let me just read the introduction from my point. But we were three women poets who were breaking free from the confines of traditional collaborative poetry, Renku and Renga, which I had been doing for a long time. So for me, I'm just going to read one short collab, but the introduction. For me, Other Vens is evidence of the links in our lives as women, artists, poets, and mothers. I've lived more than half my life in Japan. For the past 10 years, I've been immersed in Japanese Renku world. I have a passion for the rich mandala-like quality that is woven into traditional Renku. What also excites me is how this form we created is evolving, sparking poets' imaginations in new, uncharted directions. Other Vens was a wilderness adventure without a map, a simple stroll that turned into a fascinating adventure. I didn't want it to end. That was in December 1999, so 26 years ago. That's also, I've been in Japan more than two-thirds of my life. And I came to Japan when I was 6. A little bit about the other two poets. Francine Porrad was a very well-known haiku poet who lived in the Seattle area, also published many things. She had her own publishing. I can't remember all the names of the books that she published. And she published, we went on to write for 3 years, every day, back and forth on the internet. Me in Japan, Francine I was visiting Francine when we started this. Francine in Seattle and Marlene Mountain in Tennessee. They are both gone to the other world, wherever people go after they're no longer on this earth. But it was an amazing collaboration that we did. I have just a little, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. This is a portrait I did of the three of us that was in the book. And the very first one that we wrote, we did something on a rhyming theme, but the first one was called Ren Sad. So the word that we were, our prompt was sad, but we couldn't repeat it more than once. And it was Marlene, me, Francine, and we each wrote one line each. So his new used dump truck, my new used down in the dumps moon, Marlene. Husband, his presence and absence irritating me. Marking time from one season to the next, hazy moon, Francine. Just as the movie starts, a damn link needed, Marlene. Uncrumpling a used Kleenex to find a dry spot, me. Their quarrel, I end up in the middle, Francine. So this is an ode to continued collaboration, which I do with Cathabella and Cathabella's amazing group. We are also always pioneering in the area of collaboration. So I want to say thank you. And that's all I'm reading today. Thank you.
Chris, thank you. Thank you for being
Little
here.
history.
Great to hear some of your history with the forum and collaboration, and knowing you've been doing it for so long. Thank you so much for being here. Round of applause for Chris Kondo coming to us from Japan. Thank you, Chris. On deck, Walker Valdez. Please welcome now Michael G. Hickey. Hello, Michael.
Great stuff, Chris. I know I'm a couple of days late, but happy Easter, happy Passover, happy 420 day if you like a little chronic with your tonic. And happy birthday to my ex-fiance and Adolf Hitler, who both share the same birthday. Just saying. I've got a couple of very short poems tonight. The first one, the title is actually part of the poem. The title is Poetic Justice. Poetic justice occurred the day the man who designed high-heeled shoes married the woman who invented the necktie. That's poetic justice. And the other one was featured in the 10th anniversary issue of the Atlanta Review. So unless I win a Pulitzer, this is going to be like the highlight of my life. Okay. And I realized with this poem, it's really a joke. It's more stand-up comedy. And the punchline was the title. And the further away I got from the title, the less successful the poem became. So I just cut. And it went down to the title and these 7 lines. Okay. It's called Linda's Home Improvement Loan. Linda went to the bank, borrowed $2,000, and gave it all to her unemployed, uninspired boyfriend, Darnell. Here, she said, get out of my house. Thank you, everyone.
Less is more, Michael. Well done. Thank you so much for both of those pieces tonight. Good to hear your work. Round of applause for Michael G. Hickey. Interesting about having the same birthday as Hitler. You know, that's not something you want to brag about so much. You know, though soon in America it's going to be a requirement that we all change our birthdays to that date. That's just so you know. So be prepared for that. Michael, round of applause for Michael G. Hickey. On deck, Dig Wayne. Please welcome now Walker Valdez. Hey, Walker.
Hey, how you doing? Always a pleasure to be here. All right, I got 2 pieces for y'all. First one is another one from the 30 of 30 poems that I've been doing, and then another one's gonna be an older one. All right, and this one's called I think writing prompts have become too challenging. So it's just like a fun one. All right. Thank you for starting the writing prompt challenge. We will begin promptly. 1, write a poem about the woods. 2, write a poem about a coyote living in the woods who may possibly be rabid. 3, write a poem from the perspective of a rabid coyote in the woods after he just realized you spotted him. 4, write a poem about a hawk. 5, write a poem from the perspective of a blind hawk. 6, write a poem from the perspective of a hunter who was attacked by the rabid coyote right after the blind hawk flies into the back of your head. 7, write a poem without using nouns, verbs, and adjectives. 8, write a poem only using nouns, verbs, and adjectives, but don't forget to write it with your eyes closed. 9, write a poem doing all the things listed above, but this time standing on one leg. 10, if you wear glasses, write a poem without glasses. 11, if you don't wear glasses, write a poem wearing someone else's glasses. 12, write a poem using the word glasses exactly 31 times. 13, write a poem about using writing prompts to complete a poetry challenge. 14, as part of the challenge, you're required to write only using writing prompts. 15, realize that it's too hard to write poems only using writing prompts. So you write a poem making fun of writing prompts because that's the only idea you have since you're not using any more writing prompts. 16, you have now concluded the writing prompt challenge. Have a nice day. All right. And then there's another one, older one I've done, I like. And this is just from a prompt called I've been writing these poems. All right. I've been writing these poems because this is what I was born to do. But in all honesty, it kind of feels like, what the hell else can I do? When scrolling on your phone leads to this just in, more breaking news, leaving you oversaturated, overwhelmed, and overdue for some time to just decompress. So give me Dos Equis chilled and some Netflix. Give me a mic and 15 minutes to rock a poetry set list. Give me a writing prompt that I wasn't even challenged to do to begin with. I've been writing these poems because these words demolish repressive ideas like bulldozers do bricks, then brushing aside the rubble to plant seeds of hope next to it. Realizing that my stress can't compare to those truly living this. What's the point of an American dream if it threatens your existence? What's the point of an American dream when you're consistently considered less? What's the point of an American dream when the American dream is dull and tarnished, and yet we still persist? I've been writing these poems for a sense of clarity and understanding when this is my only therapy and poets and musicians slowly start to resemble family. And you don't need to challenge me to write poems because this is my true form of expression, effortlessly flowing from essence to fingertips when a pen and paper are no longer needed, just a cell phone, Google Docs, and the feeling I just wrote some dope able to spark ideas deemed as revolutionist, able to electrify minds of those who doubted I'd ever be able to do this, able to lay roots so that they bloom into something prodigious. I've been writing these poems. Or should I say, I have been writing these poems? Maybe that's just the educator in me. Either way I say it, it's still me. While these poems have been desperately trying to find me, for years as I ignored them, doubting their necessity, ignoring them as they lurked in the lunchbox filled with arroz con pollo I took to work, ignoring them while I sleep in the pockets of my favorite shirts. Yeah, I ignored them, but they finally appeared when I needed them the most. I've been writing these poems, or better yet, I stay writing poems that I regularly mold like polymer clay, shaping into towers that conversate with the sun in the middle of the day, that I hope will inspire the most vulnerable to pick up a pen and paint, that drag me out of bed and refuse to let me sleep until they're finally scribed on a digital page, that allow me to soar, then reach supersonic heights, that allow me to walk on top of the clouds, that allow me to feel like I'm worth something, all because I'm able to create art and read it aloud, that allow me to find purpose in the chaos that is life, that allow me to feel like I truly belong, all because I choose to write poem. Thank you very much.
Walker, thank you. Great stuff tonight. I especially enjoyed the writing prompt, send up, which gives me a great opportunity to remind people that I'm posting a writing prompt every day this month on the Poetry Superhighway website, as well as in the Poetry Superhighway Facebook group, and some of them are really complex. But I love the idea of just, well, I love what you did with that whole concept, so thank you so much for that. Thanks for being here. More fun. On deck, Comrade Eva Regicide. Sorry, give a round of applause to Walker Valdez. On deck, Comrade Eva Regicide. And please welcome now Dig Wayne. Hello, Dig.
Hello, Rick. I have a list as well, Walker. This is called Distort the Countenance. 1. Fly in the face of air travel. Go broke. Check every suitcase you own full of life's questions. 2. Clap your hands and snap your fingers on 1 and 3. Now slide over, Cornelius. 3. Shave the beard off of conventional wisdom, for fuck's sake. 4. Ooh-wee, ooh-wee baby, that's E-W-E-wee, E-W-E-wee. Won't you let me treat you to a lamb kebab? 5. Jeff Bezos is the Jack Sparrow of porch pirates up your bum for scrum. 6. Refuse to accept cookies unless your grandma stole them. 7. Our menu has changed. Why? 8. Hopeless romantics are predestined to find love in spite of themselves. 10. The flow of people watering flowers will track up your carpet, ladybug. 'The last one. Sweeping death under the rug is not fair to the young bohemians. My paper, as I printed it, my paper got out of order, and I thought, was that 10? Was that 9? Did I read 9? Had I read 10? I lost track. I lost count on my way to 10. This is a short poem. It was inspired by Jack Kerouac's Book of Blues, the 63rd chorus. It's called, I call it, Secret Poetry Deceives Simply. Until then, I will harbor my pen in dry pots, treat all my pencils like number 2, chew off mistaken erasers and swallow little rubber biscuits, wash them down with octopus ink, quill my quills in silent birdsong, because the broad beast has a belly gut of jargon, sits sated sideways, sloping simply, romping, rampantly refusing recourse. Until then, the muse of my muse I will treat as betrayed amusements, a ditch full of ears listening for a glitch. Deracinate the trees, for they must be the root of all godly dirt. Clear the woes of prose, expose my nose, ignite my secrets and live. Thank you.
Speaking of exposing your nose, I saw a rather odd photo of you that I think you posted earlier today. It looked like your face was a completely different shape, and I'm just wondering how you achieved that.
Well, I like I say in the caption, I'm warming up for the Gurney Championships. The Gurney. Anybody know about gurneying? It's a whole sport where you twist your face up, and it's a really popular, especially in the UK and Scotland. Gurney champions. You should Google it. It's a real thing, and these guys compete, and they got these crazy like Popeye faces where they sink their jaw down and their head like there's all this crazy stuff. So I'm just warming up for the gurney.
That's great. I'm definitely going to look into that. Do you think that maybe we should do a Cobalt reading where you have to read your poems with that kind of face?
Well, we could do that, or everyone could just have a picture up with their gurney face, and then when they read, they turn the camera on, and so everyone has a gurney face up all the time.
I like it. Let's get that on the books. That's good. There you go. Good example. A live example right there. Dig. Thank you so much. Great stuff tonight. Appreciate the information. We'll be looking into that and getting back to you on it. Round of applause for Dig Wayne.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Dig. Just a few more, and then we're done. Marietta Maglis, you are on deck. Please welcome now Comrade Eva Regicide. Hello, Comrade.
Hello, thank you for having me here. Actually, kind of keeping with prompts. This one was a writing prompt at a thing I went to. Is a an open mic poetry thing. The topic was time, and so this is kind of how I experience time. Also, it's titled Kronos' Deluge. And so swam the thistle tear, struggling to take in suspirations. It is already drowning in the expanses of length and breath, impeded by the snares of mortality laid vulnerable. So, blow, Mom, those futile breaths of life. For thistled hair who dared to bear witness how Kronos disturbed the pelagic undulations of cascading eternity. Hair that picked Persephonic opuntia fruit, which pricked its phantasmagoric venoms of peyote thorns into its flesh. A fruit delivered never to the singular entity of we, damned to swim without even the gifts of Promethean fire to send back, but cursed to speak the truth. It is always now. There is no time it could have ever been. Its pelage soaked in mercurial knowledge that saturated its poison into every weary pore, eroding maddening microlithic etches into the stony brains of shared consciousness, the singular entity of we. So came the choppy square waves that signaled the disparate tides, ingesting nauseating amounts of salinous temporal sediments that sucked out all of the hair's prospective moisture. The pull of massive nebulae clouds stealing soul's whisper. And so too came the acrid pulque of Sensom Totochin, sickening the skulls of all us sinners, the singular entity of we. They poured with their paws a tall talavera of cosmic complex sugars, talavera swirling and laced with all sorts of toxins swept up through those Empyrean currents. Cyclical came the sexagenarian susurrations, becoming screaming echoes of specters sepulchered by the prophetic oceans, without even the gifts of Promethean fire to send back, but cursed to speak the truth. It is always now. There is no time it could have ever been. Lost stalactital, sapien hands outstretching palmar flexion creases that speak damnations. They seem to seek samsaric comeuppance, steadfast to spread their sacramental word of crucibilic suffering, like carcinogenic pincer forsaking you to its predestined decocted fate. Without steady shores to gauge the hourglass distances, it seemed endlessly tsunamic. With the only separation of days demarcated by Selene's face, that too seemed stuck like an almost cruel slanted smile. It is always now. There is no time it could have ever been. And so swam the thistled hair, struggling to take in suspirations. It is already drowning in the expanses of length and breath. Blow, Mom, those futile breaths of life, knowing someday your children will drown or be drowned, the singular entity of we, without even the gifts of Promethean fire to send back, but cursed to speak the truth. Thank you. And I have one more. So kind of keeping in also with the theme of what everybody was reading. We dipped kind of into some sexuality, and I love that. I do have a nature poem that is kind of also with its own kind of tones like that. This was written actually between on a tab of acid, and also like almost in the middle of like sex, and it kind of penned down as we were eating fruit, but it's pretty short. Do you know what love is? Love is the taste of cherry pits turned ad infinitum in taciturn tongues, pulpy, dulcet tongues, lapping stone affection wrapped in fleshy, sweet ovule, oh God. The blossoms of flowering soul trickled down, insatiable, inelixicated, coalescing palates savored slow, so slow. Inelixicating love, the cool, estival bite of fresh ripe mango, glistening rosy cheeks to exalted divine golds. Eternity shared in tart, tangy bites of bromeliad, playfully nibbling back on nectarine lips and argentate breaths. Musing on Palmer Musa memories devoid of any desire but preservation of devotion, germinations of yearning honeyed hands tilling, crepuscular half-conscious kisses under brilliant stellar seeds stained in the granatum colors of diurnal glow, an ambrosial sangria melanged from citrus solar rays. Rich potable warmth nourishes unseen vascular anchors, goading perennial existences to plead for pollinations of persicate cavity. Love is the taste of cherry pits, turned ad infinitum in taciturn tongues, pulpy, dulcet tongues. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. Where are you reading to us from?
I'm in Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. Fantastic. Well, I appreciate that you're here. I hope you come back and read some more for us. I love that you're reading on old style printer paper as well. That's fascinating to me.
Yeah, kind of like Jack Kerouac, how he wrote, on the road, he had butcher paper, and I found a ream of like full ream of dot matrix paper. So I funnel that through my typewriter so I don't have to change out the paper.
Dot matrix. It's been so long since I've used that term. Thank you for reminding me of it. Please come back and read more for us.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. A round of applause for Comrade Eva Regicide. Thank you so much. I'm going to close out the reading after Jasmine Siriwan Buen Viage, a name that I'm sure I'm pronouncing incorrectly. But before Jasmine, who's on deck, please welcome now Marietta Maglas. Hello, Marietta.
Hello. I have a poem published in Sparks of Calliope, entitled Memories. Our love mixes with seaweed, a sweet memory. Sprinkled with salt, it grows between the breeze and the hurricane. The fruit of an inner struggle. The green waves crash in a murmur that cools the warm and ancient sand, limits perception. New tides of change cast our minds back, the courage to exist. In the space between ancientness and nowness, our perfect love is eternal, a song for a dance, an invisible one, and the wave-like movement. On the shores of our hearts, we can feel our holy angels, wounded wings, echoes of a distant cry, in every salty breath a prayer and a promise. Between freedom and serfdom, we fathom our dodecahedral geodesic spiritual sphere out. The reality is circumjacent, contiguous eyesight. The voice of God becomes an echo to inhabit the twilight world. Thank you.
Marietta, thank you. Congratulations on getting that piece into Sparks of Calliope. I know both you and the editor of Sparks of Calliope sometimes come to the monthly Poetry Superhighway live reading, so maybe you guys connected there. I hope so. Kismet, thank you so much for being here tonight and representing the entire continent of Europe for us.
Okay, thank you.
Round of applause for Marietta Maglis. On deck is me to close out the open reading. Please welcome now our next reader, Jasmine Sriawan Buenviage. Am I close?
I'll introduce myself. Thank you. Hi, my name is Jasmine Suryawan Buenviaje, and I'm not a poet, but thank you for letting me read anyway. So this piece is called You, Me, and the US Government. And I wrote it for my spouse, who is an immigrant from the Philippines, many years ago. They recently became a naturalized citizen, but I believe that this piece still rings true for the both of us. And it was vetted by an actual poet, so I imagine it's worthy of reading. I've never read a love story like ours, you know. You returned to the home of your colonizer, banging on a door made of steel, paper redder than the blood they left pooling in your backyard. Does my birth make me complicit? My heart and stomach become one as I watch you beg in ink for the things I was given before I could think to ask for them. The papers in folders, in files, in drawers for safekeeping. Proof that you are, proof that you were, proof that you will be, proof of our love. They need to know that the ring is real. They desire every sordid message my wanting finger procured. Their greedy tongues tie together our finances and our home and our leisure into one neat line, a paper trail that will lead us to materiality. We are not cut from the cloth they iron out and use to measure our truth. We don't fit into the checked boxes and the next line and the next line, too short to contain our fullness, so sharp that they pierce our flesh. The language they use all at once too thick and nearly translucent in its ability to hold. And even the eyes that don't have the power of choosing whether you stay or you go either prevent us from doing the things lovers do or put us on a pedestal too steep and revealing, asserting another kind of control. I see those eyes when your words poke their heads tentatively out of your throat, and I wish I could claw them out of their sockets, because they don't deserve to bear witness to even your flickering light when I've seen its full wattage. Others worry their in-laws will hate them, not cut their own children out of their skin. Others worry that distance will separate them by the hundreds, not the tens of thousands. So they don't make great films of love stories like ours because their intersections won't allow them to see beyond the surface of great tragedy. This isn't boy meets girl. It's fire meets water and rises as steam. It's ocean meets earth and worlds collide. It's you and me and the United States government. What could be more romantic? So let's make something of our own story and share it far and wide because we can't possibly be the only ones. Thank you.
Jasmine, thank you. Thank you for taking on the task of introducing yourself as well. I realize I tripped up over your name there, and it's very much appreciated. Would you mind unmuting and saying it again slowly for me so I have the best chance to possibly saying it in the future?
Sure. Jasmine Suryawan, buen viaje.
Suryawan, buen viaje.
Yes.
That's closer at least.
Yes, yes.
We can work on this. I want you to come back, even though you claim to not be a poet, but then you read this fantastic piece of writing. So I think it's absolutely fine that you come here, and please come again and read some more for us. Welcome to this space. You are welcome here. It may take me a year and a half to properly pronounce your name, but I'm willing to put in the work. Round of applause for Jasmine, first time here. Thank you, Jasmine. I'm going to close out the open reading with two pieces. I'm getting towards the end of this book that I've been reading from. It Spritz O'Clock Somewhere, poems that I wrote when I was traveling in Italy. This was written when we were staying in the city of Naples and took a day trip to visit the Amalfi Coast and Pompeii. This is the first part of the trip along on that trip. It's called To Amalfi. Walking away from our hotel, Addie spots a man in a suit and suggests we walk toward him. We do, and a few feet away he spots us and asks, "Lupert?" Everyone should have the experience of having strangers in a strange land greet you by name. His name is Paolo, and immediately he is no longer a stranger. Pompeii is, "Oh my God." Naples is, "Mamma mia." Paolo tells us. He gives us free water bottles. This tour is already paying for itself. Always count on a man in a suit to take you where you want to go. Concetta gets on the bus. She says to call her Titi. Paolo tells us an amusement park is a town of babies. Titi gives us a bracelet with her name and phone number on it, but clarifies we can only use it today. Paolo jokes it's his first day on the job, but that means his record is spotless. 4 English hooligans get on the bus. I plan on breaking the ice by talking about Doctor Who with them. A family with a baby gets on the bus. I hope that baby has a baby hat. Vesuvius is the king of Naples. Titi keeps asking if we can hear her. We keep saying no. Italian tour guides do not know how to use microphones. 79 AD is when it all went down. This is an air-conditioned bus. The term air-conditioned is used loosely. Vesuvius last erupted in 1942. These were its efforts to rid Italy of Nazis. Like the big one we're waiting for in California, Vesuvius is overdue. Its next eruption will be an explosion and not a simple lava flow, Titi tells us. But don't worry, it's not scheduled for today. In front of us are the Milky Mountains. Behind them is Amalfi. Surprise Limoncello factory stop. Beautiful views of Sorrento. One could drop one's phone into Lower Sorrento from this place. Titi rolls her R's like a professional. We try everything they offer. If you get the tourists drunk at the beginning of the tour, it's easier to make them happy the rest of the day. A very careful older woman rides a Vespa in front of us along the Amalfi Coast. I am sweating on this air-conditioned bus. There you go, beginnings of that day. And this poem was written after a line I read in this week's Torah portion. It's kind of a long line, but it's basically saying that letting you know what animals that you can't eat. There you go. The poem is called No Animal is Loathsome to Me. No offense, meat eaters and representatives of the vegetable community, but I'm a vegetarian. It's been 38 years since a formerly living creature intentionally passed through my lips to be broken down by my biological processes and keep me alive another day. I remember it well and knew nothing else for those first 18 years when my mother, may she rest in Syracuse, occasionally provided the structure, guidance, and materials for my daily nourishment. I don't care how many legs you've got, I am not going to eat you. Even if you have no legs and spend your time moving from place to place on your stomach, occasionally trying to convince one of the first people to eat what they were told they shouldn't, you're safe from my carnivorous desires. I want to pet all the animals, even the scaly ones. Every second not writing these poems is spent watching videos of people hugging bears or convincing wild foxes to live inside and be dogs. It is my main job to convince the world's animals I am their friend and they can count on me for safe harbor and nourishment. My wife and my bank account are not on board with this, so I'll stick with these public declarations and my kosher-style allegiance to these ancient words. O wigglers and crawlers, you with the many legs and stomach touching the ground, you with the fur and you with cloven hooves, you're forever safe with me. It's always awkward when I finish a poem because then I can't come on and legitimately say, hey, that was me. It's a very strange transition. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Thank you so much for being here this whole time. I want to especially thank our featured reader, Ali Ang, for her fantastic featured reading, for their fantastic reading tonight. I pasted stuff in the chat again that I pasted earlier. If you want to tip Ali for their reading via Venmo, there is the Venmo ID by which you can do that. Please do that. It means a lot to a poet to have any kind of little amount for having done poetry. Making any kind of money from having created art is really a rewarding thing, especially if you take that money and then you buy food with it. You're literally sustaining yourself for having done art. So please tip Ali for their reading. Again, you can download the broadside for Ali's poem at the Cobalt Poets website, link that I just pasted. You can see all the broadsides we've ever published there for all of our featured readers for all the years that this series has been going. Also on that website, I know we have a lot of new people here, so if you want to come back and you want a reminder to come back, click on email list and you can see, you can add your email to our list, and we send out a couple emails a week letting you know who the next featured reader is, and reminder of when the next open reading is, as well as a convenient link to the Zooms you can get right in. And also on that website is the calendar link. I forgot to mention this earlier. Next week, a Memphis poet and owner of historic Burke's bookstore, Corey Mesler, will be reading for us. Corey is someone who I've known only online. I've never actually spoken with the person, but since the 90s I've known Corey and have interacted with him for various poetry reasons. He runs this historic bookstore in Memphis. He'll be our featured reader next week. And finally, what is finally? The message have scrolled and I forgot what I've posted. Oh yes, there you go. You can visit Ali on the web at Ali's website, Ali's on ong.com. You should look at the what I posted there, so and not rely on my pronunciation of really anything. Thank you all for being here. Round of applause again for Ali, for our open readers. Special welcome to all of the new people who are here. I hope you come back. We do this every week. I'm going to click on the Ask All to Unmute button so y'all can say hi to each other.
Hi.
Thanks, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Great job,
Henry,
Ali.
Henry.
Thanks, everyone.
Excellent feature.
Hi, everybody.
Great feature.
Henry. I've always felt that I'm a snail. My shell never broke though. My shell never broke. I moved a lot when I was a kid and until I moved to where I am now.
I felt outnumbered by cat people, so I brought my baby chick.
Ooh.
There were so many
Little
cats
birdie.
tonight that I'm having an allergy attack.
A remote allergy attack. How
Night,
nice.
everyone.
Good night,
On that
everybody.
note, folks, I got to get ready for work tomorrow. Night night.
Yeah, guys,
Bye.
y'all, this was lovely.
See
as
you next week.
Good night.